Hello, I'm Jessica Jackson of Thriving in Motherhood, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the story and behind the scenes peek of how the Thriving in Motherhood Planner came to be because it came out of my very own real experiences and the struggle of motherhood as a young mom with young children. And I think that a lot of you will probably relate to those experiences that I had that led to the creation of the Thriving in Motherhood Planner. We're going to talk today in depth about the story and the behind the scenes of the Thriving in Motherhood Planner, why I created it, the problems that I was trying to solve, and the pain points that I had. But it can be boiled down to how to use it in the free training that I have for you, Plan a Week You Can Win. It is a 4-part video series that'll walk you through the entire process and system that I have created that allows me to do everything that I do, from homeschooling my kids to running a business to keeping the household together, basically to get all of these things that I want to do, my vision for my life, for my family, onto paper and take action on it in a way that is sustainable and grows over time. So you can find that at Plan a Week You Can Win at thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/win. Today, I'm going to start by telling you what I was like years ago when I first became a mom, which is struggling. I thought that motherhood would go really well for me. I was a person that went through school with Franklin Covey planners, 2 pages a day. I would have my schedule. I had my to-do list down. I was very put together. I could get a lot of things done. Very successful as a teacher, very successful in school. And I enjoyed it. I love being productive. I love managing my time. But when I had a baby, that all kind of went out the window as my nights and my days were mixed up, and I didn't know, what way was up. And I didn't gracefully, enter motherhood. My husband was starting grad school. I was a young mom without a vehicle in a tiny cinder block apartment, far away from any family. And brought this baby home. And while my husband was taking night classes and busy working during the day, I was taking care of this baby. And so there came a point when I said, you know what, this is crazy. I need to reclaim some of my time, get something on paper, feel like myself again. And so I went back to those same strategies that worked for me so well as a mom, or as an individual, as a married person, as a single person. And I started writing things down on my schedule. I started making to-do lists. And then you know what? The baby would sleep at the wrong time of the day, and my schedule would be thrown off. Or I would have this moment and I would look at my to-do list, and by the time I picked the thing I wanted to do, my baby woke up and I couldn't get that thing done, and it became so frustrating. And so after, trying over and over again to make this, the schedule work, these productivity and time management tips that I had been using forever, they didn't work. And so I said, you know what, that's fine. I'll just give up. I stopped and I abandoned my planning and my, time management skills entirely. And with one caveat, which is I kept listening and kept learning and kept studying these principles while I did laundry, while I cooked meals. These are the podcasts that I plugged into. Michael Hyatt, he called it This Is Your Life. And I would listen to him train CEOs and entrepreneurs about how to manage their time and their schedule. And as I continue to listen to this, and I listened to others like April Perry, who at the time was teaching Mind Organization for Moms, which is basically how to build your own command central. And so she was teaching this. It's now what Learn, Do, Become. And she taught context-based to-do lists. So instead of now making like a running long to-do list, instead you break it up into context where the thing happened. And so I take a little bit from here, and Michael Hyatt would talk about doing big threes, and I would, take that note here. And as I continued to listen to others and read books, and they would do webinars about how to plan your year. And I would, okay, it's for CEOs. I can figure this out. If CEOs need it, I'm running so much as a mom. Let me figure this out. So I started kind of puzzling these things together. But at the same time, I'm still struggling, right? Like, this is the fun part of my day, but it's not translating into anything yet. Well, when my second baby was born, I had a brand new, 2-year and 2-week-year-old. And then I had this newborn baby, and I got very, very sick at the hospital. I contracted something called C. diff. And, which we didn't realize at the time, but after 2 weeks of getting progressively sicker and sicker and sicker, I went to the ER and got my diagnosis and spent the next week fighting for my life with my 2-year-old. My mom traveled in to take care of the 2-year-old. My husband stayed with me and the newborn at the hospital. And I was just very, very sick during that time. And as I started to come out of that fog of I realized the thing that I wanted to do was reclaim my life. I wanted to start living again. I was tired of just surviving and existing through my days and of taking things as they come and basically just taking care of the baby and feeding people. Like that was not fulfilling to me, and it felt overwhelming. I don't feel like I was doing it well, but I was still overwhelmed, and I needed other things in my life. And so I started wanting to compile the things I'd been watching. Like I'd seen other moms do things with kids down the road or with their families, and I'd been reading books, and I'd started to kind of get these ideas like, hey, I kind of like how she homeschools. That's interesting to me. I'm years away from homeschooling, but I like that. Or I like how they're outside with their kids a lot, or they're doing nature things. Or, I like how these big families have these systems around how they do meals or how they clean their house. This is really interesting to me. And I like how this mom is joyful and she enjoys it and she delights in her children. How does she do that? And as I continued to watch and observe and read and listen to other moms, I began forming what I would call a vision. And so now I had this quest of, how do I take these ideas, this vision that's forming, that's hazy but is interesting to me, and start to make it what my days look like? How do I bring that into my days? How do I take this something that feels far out and make it my reality? And so I went to the drawing board, and as I'm sick recovering, so I'm like nursing a baby 24/7, and I've got a 2-year-old that's coming and going, and I am still very sick. It took me about 4 months to recover from this sickness. And during this time, I was scrolling on my phone, and I looked up every single planner that existed, every mom planner, productivity planner, Franklin Covey planner, like you name it. If it existed, I looked at every, like you can look at it and scroll in and look at the pages. I examined every one because in my head, I was like, okay, I need a place for this. I need a place for that. I need a place for this. And like, I would get through it, and it was just like, it didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work, because I was so clear about what I needed to have happen. I needed a way to get that vision onto paper. I needed a way to bring it into my weeks, and I needed it to be flexible, because even though like Michael Hyatt has a planner now, he didn't back then, but even that one, it's not flexible for moms. It's too detailed scheduling your days. And I know that within my day, I don't know what's going to happen. With the week, I have a pretty good idea. And so like his full focus planner, I'm like, one day I will use that. But that doesn't work as a mom. I need more flexibility. And so I kept studying, and I decided, you know what? I'm just going to buy a regular notebook, a plain notebook, one just like this with dots on it. And I'm going to design my own planner. And so year one, I played around with tons of different spreads, and I came up with some things that worked and some things that didn't work. In year two, every week I would draw it out. I would draw out my spread for the week, draw it out, for the month. And I just slowly over time, over 3 years, built this system. And after 3 years, I realized I didn't change anything. Like, this is working. All of these elements that I brought in, all of these pieces, I have 13 different components in this planning system that I pulled from tons of different sources. They were working. It was allowing me to be clear, not forget what was important to me, bring my vision down into something that I was focusing on for the quarter, for the week, for the month. It was something that was allowing me to be flexible within the week, but still very clear what I needed to do each day. It was something that was allowing me to manage my regular mom life tasks, like things that had to happen, like feeding people and cleaning things or working on house projects, and also incorporate like my business and things that I was trying out, podcasting. And just incorporate all of these things into one place where it was streamlined. And then also, I used to have this problem where I'd like put notes everywhere, right? Like I'd call it the sticky note problem. Like you'd have a note on your phone and a note on the random piece of paper on the counter that would get wet, and notes everywhere. And now I had a space to put all of those random things that I needed and wanted to refer back to or process or take action on, all into one spot, but in a way that was streamlined. It wasn't overwhelming. And that became the Thriving in Motherhood Planner. This is the 2023 planner now. But for a long time, I just wrote it. And then a friend saw it, saw my pages, saw my planner in my notebook. And she's like, "Ooh, I want that. Could we make that?" And I was like, you know what? I am so tired of drawing it out every week. It was so fun when I was creating it, but now it just feels like a pain. Yes, let's create something. And so she is an amazing designer, Katie. And she got it all designed for us in just a couple of weeks. And we sold it in 2018 for the very first time. And it's now 2023. We've had the planner open every single year. And what is incredible is that it helps us go from having these monkeys in our brains, okay, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like we don't know what to do because there's so much to do, to then being able to get it down on paper, come up with a clear plan, and take one thing at a time and move forward slowly as you see that snowball build. You see progress begin to happen. And it's so empowering. And over the many, many years, I've had husbands come up to me and say, my wife uses this like next to her scriptures. This is the most important thing in her house because it allows her to feel so confident and just clear about what matters and feel confident in her learning and her growth. She sees her successes. It is wonderful. I love it because she loves it. And I've had other husbands say things like, I know it's working because my wife doesn't have to talk to me as much, like that processing to me because she can process on the pages. And I did not expect to be hearing from husbands about this planner. But the more important thing is that you go from feeling this overwhelmed. I felt so overwhelmed. I felt aimless. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was watching the clock all the time. I didn't know what to spend my time doing when my baby slept, or I had so many things that I wanted to do. I didn't know where to start. And then the baby would wake up, or my kids would stop playing well, right? I went from this just constant kind of fight or flight mode and feeling like I should be doing all these things, but didn't know what to do. And all of this mom guilt to instead now embracing a very unique life, one that is where I feel confident when I wake up what I'm going to do today or this week, that I'm clear on my priorities, that my schedule and my time is aligned with what matters most to me, with what I feel like God is asking me to do. And I don't think my life looks like anybody else's, and your life certainly doesn't need to look like mine. But what it can do is help you customize your life in a way that helps you feel confident. It helps you feel good and fulfilled and happy and like you can enjoy motherhood, right? And I think that was the missing piece of the puzzle for me. I wanted to enjoy motherhood more than anything. I loved my kids and I really wanted to enjoy them, but I couldn't when I was so lost in my head and in the haze and in the overwhelm. And this Thriving in Motherhood Planner was one of the big keys to help me be able to start enjoying motherhood again. So if you want to get started, please check out thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/win, completely free training. It'll help you take whatever planning system you're already using and incorporate some of these strategies and these principles to help you be successful. Or if you love doing your own notebook, great. You can apply these strategies into your notebook system. Or if you want it done for you, you can grab the 2023 or whatever year Thriving in Motherhood Planner we're on, and that will help you get your feet under you, help you create this clear vision, help you figure out what matters to you, and then start bringing that into your weeks, into your days, and so that you can move forward on the things that matter most to you.